What's up, everybody? Welcome to Podcast Now. I'm Alex, and in this video, I want to go over 5 things the Avengers beta must do. So yesterday, we talked about the things it kind of needs to avoid, right? The things that absolutely cannot happen to this beta. And in this video, I want to take the reverse of it. Now, just to make it clear and maybe, calm people down if they see and they say, oh, well, you're just going to reverse all of the negative things. No, I'm going to try and take a new approach on this. So again, these are 5 kind of new things. They could, be small twists on the things I don't want, but we're going to go from there. Now, really quickly, and I've said this before in the other Avengers videos, I kind of want to plug a lot of things just because this beta is so close. So I have a second channel. It's called Podcast Now Plus. You'll find a link for it in the description below. If you guys want to check me out there, I do a lot of different kinds of things there. I'll be covering the beta there as well. So if you guys want to subscribe, as always, like I said in the past videos, Podcast Now, I don't think there's a space, is the name of my PlayStation ID. So if you guys want to friend me on PlayStation, I'm more than happy to accept you. And if you guys are on when I'm on playing this game, I'll absolutely invite you guys. Okay, so if you want to do that, same thing, Twitter, Discord, all these different ways just to get you guys and get us kind of connected and get people connected with each other, right? So all of that stuff, Discord, Twitter, second channel, Podcast Now Plus, all of that is in the description below if you guys want to give that. And again, a podcast now, you can find that actually in the About tab of our channel. So all of that stuff aside, let's jump into this video. So this is in no particular order. Number 1 is feeling fun. The game needs to feel fun. So this is pretty obvious, right? And by this, I mean the objectives, I mean the gameplay. I think, honestly, I mainly mean the gameplay. And it's what I said about this game yesterday. Again, gameplay is king. I think that if the visuals look good enough and if the premise and all these different things, story, characters, all that kind of stuff, it can carry a game. And I guess the game could be absolutely terrible to play and you can still give it a go. But especially for a game like this, with it, being raids, with these war zones, drop zones, all these different things, all these different missions with these different characters, the game needs to, at its basic, at the basic level, it needs to be fun to play, right? And so obviously, I think that is the main thing that this game absolutely needs to nail. It needs to make playing with friends fun, enjoyable, all those different kind of, any word that you really want to use. Very important. Okay, because again, at the end of the day, this is a game that's going to live for years. This is a game that's going to have all of these DLC characters, whether they be, exclusive characters or not. It's going to have a lot of characters, right? So replayability is important. In fact, replayability, we'll get to that on this list. But, when you're jumping online, when you're jumping on with your friends, with a community, right? Like I've been talking about all this different kind of stuff. When we're doing this, it needs to, again, feel fulfilling. It needs to make you want to do that, because at the end of the day, you will run out of campaign missions. The story will end. And yes, with the DLC characters, which are free, and that's fine, and that's an awesome thing, right? They'll bring, new story missions. There'll be stuff to play, but eventually you're gonna run out. Why are people still playing Destiny? Are they still playing it for the story? No, they're playing it to play with each other. They're playing it for the raids. They're playing it for the events that are happening. And I hope that this game has those kind of things too, right? I think they will, but that is the important thing. So you need to make, again, we talked about war zones and drop zones in yesterday's video. They need to make, if I want to jump on, again, with a friend of mine, if I want to jump on and I see you guys playing, and I'm like, okay, I want to play with a bunch of you guys. It needs to make it fun, because if it's not fun, then it's like, well, why would we actually do it, right? Huge, huge part of the game. The third thing is the beta itself needs to show potential. Now, again, these are all things that the beta needs to show. By just expanding it a bit, we are talking about the base game. But for this one specifically, I feel like this one is the most talking about the beta, is potential. Now, I was originally going to word this a bit differently, but here's what I basically mean. This beta needs to give us a taste of everything that they're doing, okay? All the stuff that they're showing in this beta, they need to show it. It needs to be grabbing. It needs to make us want to play it. And it needs to give us just enough where we're, really happy and we're like, man, I can't wait to play the main game. But it also needs to kind of leave us waiting, where we're like, dang it, the game needs to come out tomorrow, right? That is, I think, the main goal of pretty much any beta. I mean, the beta trials, alpha, whatever version they're giving you, right, for the particular game, they are all, I think, designed for them. It's to test the game. Okay, when we're playing the game, we're testing it out. I'm sure Square Enix, they're figuring out, or Crystal Dynamics even, right? They're figuring out, okay, this thing works, this thing that we have to tweak this, we have to change that. I mean, and so feedback is important. But for us, it's okay, well, are we going to like the base game? Again, like I talked about in yesterday's video, this is going to sell people on this game. It's also going to make people cancel their, not get the game in general. Both of those things, I guarantee you, will happen because of this beta. So again, the beta needs to give us, it can't get, and I know I've seen different things. Some people have said like it's going to have around 4 hours of content. That kind of worries me because the amount of stuff they talked about, like with Warzones, feels like that's actually more than, like they talked about how Warzones could take like an hour or 2 hours to beat one of them. So if you have, more than that, if you have like 5, how can it only take 4 hours? So we'll have to see how much meat is actually in this beta. Ultimately, as long as it doesn't give us like next to nothing, right, which I don't think is going to happen, as long as they give us some stuff, I feel like this point stands where needs to show us, again, customization, gameplay, characters, all this stuff, needs to give us a good look, but also needs to make us want the base game. If people can feel like, oh, I experienced the most out of it, right, like I got all I needed to get out of this game with the beta, well, then they're not going to get the, the base game, right? Similarly, obviously, people are really disappointed with the beta, so there is that sweet spot in the middle, where the beta was fun, it was enjoyable, you see the potential, you see, okay, well, this is where the game is going, I want to play the base game, right? All of those things, that's what this beta, I think, needs to achieve. The fourth thing is making all the characters fun to play. So a few weeks, or maybe I think it was like last week, I don't know why I was going to say a few weeks ago, I think it was around last week, right on Twitter, and I think I'm going to even make this a poll on podcast now over the next couple days. I talked about what's going to be your main character for this, because we know there's going to be 4 characters, right? And people, I think a lot of them, I'd say probably the majority of them, again, at least on Twitter, haven't done YouTube yet, said Iron Man. I think Iron Man's going to be probably the favorite, which is very understandable for a lot of different reasons. But the thing is, again, as I keep saying with this game, the point is you gotta make this game fun in a lot of ways, not just one. They've talked about, your Iron Man is going to be different from my Iron Man. That's fine. That's completely cool. But at the end of the day, when you're jumping into a war zone, jumping into a drop zone, you're going to have different characters. So you may have to be willing to play as somebody that's not your main. And I don't even honestly know how that's going to work. Like, is there, when you jump in, do they quickly make you pick the Avenger you're picked? And then if that person's already chosen, do you have to pick something else? I honestly even see it like maybe even like how hockey does it, which I guess you could do with any sports game, right? If you jump into like when you're actually able to play the positions, you just move the controller to which position you want, and then once the controller's there, it blocks it off. You're not allowed to be able to move it. So we'll have to see how they do it. But again, the whole point is they have to make all of them fun. If people really just hate Kamala Khan, right? If they really just don't want to play as her, then it's like, all right, well, that just eliminates the character. That's even more important, I think, with DLC, right? But specifically with this beta, they need to make all 4 of them really, really fun. If everybody's running around being like, oh, I only want to play Iron Man, Hulk sucks, Black Widow sucks. If people are doing that, that is going to hurt the game. You can't just have, especially in a game where it's going to be characters and then it's going to be expanding characters, you can't have, yes, everybody's going to have their favorite, I'm sure, and hopefully, and the hope always is with a game like this, that your favorite character is different. You know what I mean? Like, it's spread out as much as humanly possible. It's not guaranteed that will happen. I think there'll always be favorites, but that's what they need to get as much as possible. And the final thing is showing off the replayability. So honestly, this kind of puts all of it together. So again, the gameplay is important. Having the characters feel different, having them all be fun to play, all this stuff, obviously very, very important. The most important thing, though, is, look, at the end of the day, again, you will experience everything. I guarantee you, people will experience the entire beta probably by like Saturday night. Give people 24 hours, and there's no way that there's not going to be somebody that does it all, okay? Now, maybe they don't unlock everything. Maybe they don't get all the customization things that you're able to get, but I guarantee you, people will finish this. People will finish the base game in a couple days. In fact, if you buy the deluxe editions, which I'm not doing, by the way, but if you bought the the $70 or $80 version, you get to play the game 3 days early, which honestly, I've kind of feel like destroys a game like this, because you're going to have people very much more powerful than others when they first jump in day one. So I don't like that at all, but at the same time, that's just the way they're doing it. Again, people are going to beat it. You need to show that when you replay it, you can actually do that. You know what I mean? Like, obviously we know we can replay things, but you gotta make it fun. Again, how will these, like, again, I understand they talk about how your Iron Man's going to be different than mine and all this kind of stuff. They need to make that very, very apparent that you can both have very strong characters that you love that are really fun, that are the same character technically, right? But at the same time, they are different because of the skills, because of the things that you equip them with, all this stuff. They need to show that. And again, with the missions, look, I've talked about Predator Hunting Grounds, right? That's a game I've talked about a lot on this channel. That game is the most repetitive game, I think, probably on the planet as of like right now, right? That I guess I hyped up. And so like that kind of does scare me, where it's like, okay, well, in each game of Predator, you're doing the same thing over. Now again, I guess not really. You're doing 3 objectives per match for the most part, and they have probably 10 to 12 objectives in total. But you play the game like 5, 6, 7 times, you'll have seen every single objective. And the problem with that game is there's only one way of doing it. It gets old. You can't really, there's not that much advancements, all this kind of stuff. So that's why I get worried for Avengers. But at the same time, again, there's a lot of good ways. You're going to be facing enemies, but maybe you can face them a different way, one time versus the next, right? There's a lot of ways they can do this right. There's also a lot of ways they can do this wrong. We've talked about both, and guys, I think we are ready to go. So let me know in the comments below, guys, what are some things you think this beta needs to do? Yesterday, right, we talked about the things that the beta cannot do, and like I said, we're ready. So Friday night, 9 p.m., the beta opens for PlayStation who have pre-ordered it. I'll be playing the game as much as I possibly can. Saturday, we'll be live streaming it on the channel. I'll be having videos. Hopefully, there'll be maybe even some collaborations over the weekend into next week. So lots of really, really fun stuff coming your guys' way, and I hope to see you guys there.